Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind podcast. Welcome to another week in Grappling Breakdown and Reviews. I'm your host Josh, joined as always by
Maine.
God, that was so cheesy.
This week on the show, we are going to recap Polaris Pro 6 in the UK, somewhere in the UK, EBI 15, the Featherweights, as well as Fight to Win Pro 63. But first, we're going to kick off with some news.
Some news, like Orlando Sanchez saying he would like to compete against Gordon Ryan. Who wants to see that?
I do, Josh.
I don't. Orlando Sanchez is going to try to make it boring as shit.
Like the Tom DeBlass match at ADCC, where he laid on him?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Gordon's going to try to rip off his feet.
Look, you're hating Josh. I want to see Gordon compete against anyone.
I do too, but I also want to see him in the gi.
Yeah, I do too.
So I'd rather get to the gi stuff than him go against Orlando Sanchez.
I agree. In other Gordon news, giant MRSA infection on his chest.
Yeah, and also he openly said that Keenan fucks him up in the gi.
I'm not surprised at all. Are you?
No, but
it's like, one of the best gi guys in the world that's in your weight class, like, fucks you up in the gi. Like, oh, that's not surprising at all, considering you don't do a ton of gi until, a month ago?
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's in the news. It's quote-unquote news.
It's news. Gordon Ryan stated that a man that is a world champion level in the gi fucks him up. Like, I'm not surprised.
News.
News.
Also, breaking news. I don't know. You'll all have read or seen it or speculated, talked on the internets, talked with your gym folks. Apparently, allegedly, supposedly, whatever you want to go with, Eddie Cummings and John Calistine are not part of DDS.
See, this is where I'm confused, though, because, they weren't part of DDS, and, Danaher unfollowed him on Instagram. He only follows, 7 people, and then they were in, and they're out, and they're in, and now, and this something new came out today, and it's February 18th, Sunday, that they're now out of the death squad. So I have no idea.
Not out of it like they got kicked out. They left. So did they leave? Here's where I'm okay with speculating right now. Did they leave? Are they still training at a Henzo affiliated gym? They just aren't at the main one?
Because if you don't know, Danaher teaches at the main gym in Manhattan, which is where all the Death Squad guys train at when they're not training at their respective gyms. But there's a question now. It's like, did he leave that gym? Is he still training at the one down in Brooklyn? Or is he left completely? Or the article and all the Twitter posts and Instagram stuff is not conclusive. We don't know what's up. So we don't know if he's left Henzo's, or if he's left just the main Manhattan gym, or if he's just not taking classes that the Death Squad guys are in, or if he's just not taking classes that John teaches.
It's all really weird and confusing. It's news and it's not. Do you really care if somebody switches? Some people care that people switch teams. I don't. I'm fine with whatever.
Yeah, we've seen guys switch teams and do great. We've seen guys switch teams and not have the same performances. So it's really team to team, guy to guy dependent. But it was just an interesting piece of information that came out now. Also considering that Cummings this weekend had the flu, so couldn't compete on EBI. We're going to get into EBI as the first event we cover this week. So more Eddie Cummings news coming out, as we're recording this podcast.
And more possible jiu-jitsu drama / news.
Josh, I hate jiu-jitsu drama. I hate all this. So the only reason we touch on the tabloid stuff is because
it's giving us insight into the inner working sort of gym affiliation.
And how 10th Planet works, given kind of the focus on 10th Planet this week with EBI and all their stuff. This is some interesting information to come out this week about kind of inner workings of 10th Planet, how they work, and how they compete against each other.
So a big article came out in the Jiu-Jitsu Times about a gentleman named Elia Yurditsky. I hope I'm saying your name right. If I didn't, sorry, my bad. He was removed ungraciously. I need another good word that he was just excommunicated. Boom, good word. Excommunicated from 10th Planet. And this is 10th Planet, San Francisco, Denny Probokos' school.
Yeah, he's the head instructor at that gym.
Denny Probokos is. he got him kicked out of the association and took away his black belt. I don't know how you do that. I don't think that's actually possible, but he took away his black belt. And then Elia posted a rebuttal because Denny posted some things and he felt it was unflattering. So he posted a rebuttal and what was going on and what's going on in the gym. You can find it on Jiu-Jitsu Times. I am not going to go really in depth into it. But essentially what happened was, there was some cross-training with Travis Maglet, who just went against Marvin Castell. And that apparently caused a riff. And Denny went to Eddie. And Denny is Eddie's first black belt. So I'm pretty sure they're super tight. He was like, hey, this is going on. And Eddie said, yeah, I'm cool with it. Out you go. And they were like, yeah, fist bump, flat earth. And yeah, you can read into it more and decide for yourself.
Yeah, we don't really like to cover and speculate on like this kind of stuff, but it was a big enough thing that happened in the community this week that we thought we would touch on it in case you hadn't seen it and were more interested in finding out information about it. So in other news that's less depressing.
Yeah. EBI 16 females 135 was announced. Cool. All female card. Looking forward to that. We don't know any competitors, but that's happening in May. So as it gets closer, we'll see that. We'll also probably see a new 10P qualifier.
Yep. I also assume for the women, they're going to have some of the women at 125 go up to 135. So I think we'll probably see some repeat competitors in that bracket.
Possibility. And in the best news of all, AC Slater was promoted to blue belt. That's right, Mario fucking Lopez got a blue belt. Now, if he learns knife defense to get away from Screech, it'll be completely perfect.
Didn't Screech shoot a porno once?
He did. He also had a male sex toy formed after him, and he stabbed somebody. Hence the knife defense joke.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
In a strip club.
Went over my head.
In a strip club, if I'm not mistaken. Or a bar. Either way, he stabbed somebody. That's fucking funny.
It is.
Not for the guy that got stabbed, but Screech stabbed you. Dustin fucking Diamond stabbed you.
That's pretty funny. So that'll do it for news this week. On to EBI 15, the Featherweights. So this event started off with a really interesting change of competitor. We were supposed to have Eddie Cummings, and he was on one side of the bracket, and Gio Martinez was on the other side of the bracket, and they were going to rematch, and there's a huge history between these two competitors there. A day before, like literally less than 24 hours before, Eddie Cummings drops, and it's announced that his teammate, Josh, what's his name?
John Calistine?
Calistine, I cannot say that name. Save my ass. John Calistine, his teammate, is going to replace him in this bracket, and then so Junior Casio, who initially was paired up with Eddie Cummings in the preliminary round, the first round of 16. What do you want to call it?
First round, preliminary round, both were good choices.
The first round now has to compete against John Calistine instead because Eddie Cummings has the flu. So that was a huge change, that you lost your number 2 seed right out of the gate, and it changed the card.
Number 2 seed, number 1 seed. He's the champion.
No, he's not the champion. Gio's the champion.
No, Gio's the 135 champion, not the 145 champion.
Yeah, you're right. Yep. They announced every time they said Gio Martinez's name for this event, then they said Gio Martinez, EBI champion, 135 champion, like every single time on the broadcast. So again, Josh and I love the event, and part of the reason why we're a little critical of certain pieces of the event is because this is the biggest showcase for jiu-jitsu. This is the headline event for basically professional grappling. It's the first event on Fight Pass. It's why we have submission grappling on Fight Pass. This is the biggest showcase. This is what Rogan talks about on his podcast that goes out to, thousands of people every month. This is the event. So if people are going to watch grappling, you're going to get them into grappling, you get them into professional grappling, this is how people get in. This is the first thing they see. So if that product or it's weird or there's something odd about it, you're going to turn people that maybe this is your only shot to get them to watch submission grappling, you're going to turn them off to it. So that's partially why Josh and I are so critical of stuff that happens that's weird or bad in this event, because it's such a good event. We just want it to be even better so that it can be the headline and flagship for jiu-jitsu.
And I know it's not just me. People post about it, and they say pretty much the same thing that I say. So I just get really worked up about it. But they really need unbiased commentators. Like, you can tell now that TJ DeSantis trains somewhere with Eddie
Oh,
Bravo
yeah, and that's
or inside that 10th planet system, because they are all over it. Just all over it. You need somebody from outside. You can have one person. You can have TJ DeSantis, who is part of that family, that crew, whatever.
he's good.
He's a Planeteer.
Oh my god.
Hey, that's a Captain Planet reference. That's fine, but you need to bring other people out. Like somebody else that's not involved, that knows jiu-jitsu.
Gumby.
There you go. There's one person. It could be anybody. You could take, I know he's busy and they all ran the same card on the same damn day. Seth Daniels speaks very well, knows his jiu-jitsu, knows rubber guard stuff. You've seen him twister people and hit calf cranks off
Multiple
of the truck.
times.
Like, he knows these things too. You need to find people that know how to talk. Jay Regal Buddha, I'll shout him out every single time. You got to get something. Let's get into this actual stuff now.
So kicking off the event, first match actually.
John Calistine. And if you are not an East Coast person and really like New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Virginia type area, or you don't follow grappling that much, you don't know who that is. So you're like, all right, I know Juni Ocasio. I saw him on
Kasai.
something that was already on Flow. I saw him on Kasai. That guy's going to win. I've been on cards with John Calistine. I've seen him compete. Dude is a beast. He's tiny too, but dude is a beast.
Yeah, he was one of the smaller guys for this 145. I mean, it's 145 anyway, and he was one of the smaller guys in the bracket at 145.
He's naturally 135.
Oh my god,
like
that makes a lot of sense.
Guy. Yeah. So they started out, Calistine just goes down as quickly as possible, just sits and tangles up the legs and
roll off the mat once. Junie rolls out of the heel hook and like good defense, and they just roll off the mat. They reset. John sits again and gets into leg entanglement, turns him over, and on the second time, Junie goes to roll out of the heel hook attempts and just isn't able to roll and pull his heel and cross, basically pull the knee line out, and has to tap to the heel hook. About 90 seconds total.
Yeah, and it was announced during the match before it was ended that at that point they were 1-1, that they had that John Calistine had submitted him and Junie had beaten him by points.
That's
or
correct.
Overtime.
Nope, it was points.
Okay, by points. So, this is the rubber match, and Calistine runs away with it. And this, I think, started opening up eyes to who this person was. Next match, Jason Hayden versus Juan Rosales from Wagner Hosha. Hey, look, we brought up his name again.
Wagner Hosha, every podcast.
Hayden we've seen before, and he's strong. He's wild. No, that was a bad word. He's not wild in a sense, but he's ready to go. He's ready to win at any cost.
One of the things I like about this card is they seem to be bringing guys back that are going to put on a show. And they're going to go for the sub and not going to stall and point it out. They're picking guys, and this card, I think, is the best example of a card they put together where these guys are here to finish and win.
And that's what it looked like pretty much the entire card. There was not a lot of like ho-humming. People wanted the finish. You want that money. Why wouldn't you?
They also changed the rules of this event, so I think there's only one overtime now in the preliminaries.
No, that was in the last EBI, also in CJJ Worlds.
Okay, maybe that's what it was. The commentators talk about it, and the commentators confused me during the event.
They don't even know the rules.
That was apparent. We'll touch on that later in the show about some rule issues we had.
So, everybody was trying to go for the finish. And again, in the first few matches, in the first round and the quarterfinal rounds, you only have one overtime. So if you can hold on longer or submit the person, the other person can't get you, quick win. You don't have to go through the 3 overtimes. So that match went to time, and Jason Hayden actually finished Juan Rosales by rear naked choke.
Moving on to the next match, we had John Battle, which I think is a badass last name, versus Yao Tavares.
Yao?
Joao, Josh. Joao. I looked at his name, and then I said it wrong, as per usual.
Yeah. You knew the people that were super into the legs by the way these matches went. People were just dropping like a sack of potatoes.
I don't think I saw any matches where there was like a legit takedown or like a takedown attempt. Guys would sit and go for the feet.
It was really quick stuff.
Disregard for position. They're like, all right, I win if I get $5,000 if I sub you. Going for your feet.
Pretty much. Yeah, I mean that's the smart thing to do.
Makes it exciting, and look, you're going to be able to sub someone, on their leg faster than if you have to get top control, get body control, pass, get an arm, get a neck. Like, you got 10 minutes, you want to win $5,000, go for a footlock. Fuck it, as Danaher says, go for a footlock.
Yeah, and Battle was using more of that, reaping technique to go for his heel hooks, and a lot of people were doing different things this card. So he just tangled up the legs and just went after it, started going, and Joao just fighting it off, trying to. And he just nabbed a heel hook, just grabbed it up and was like, all right, this mine. Took it. Another competitor that we've seen on EBI before, Mike Davila, former Renzo Gracie competitor that went to Marcelo and Bronx Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, we've seen Mike I think 1 or 2 times before.
Yeah, I believe so. Remember there was that whole thing in that one EBI where Danaher wouldn't coach or wasn't there to coach because he was like, no, we told you not to do this and you did this.
Oh, that was him, wasn't it?
Yes.
That's why I remember him. Yep.
Yes. Goes against Rodrigo Lima from Cayotera. Davila is a guy that's using the 50-50 position more to try and heel hook, more so than that like outside reaping position, the honey hole, whatever you want to call it, side saddle, whatever. He was more of a 50-50 looking guy. And again, down looking for the legs, tangling them up, and snags it up really quick. It was a lot of this card was moving by rather quickly, actually, because people were actually submitting each other.
Yeah, this was a card. Last card we kind of complained a little bit because it ran really long, or 2 cards ago. One of the EBIs recently ran super long. This card did not have that problem. Dudes were getting subbed and getting subbed quick.
So moving on to the darling of the 10th planet system, the number 1 pound for pound, 10th planet tier, whatever you want to call him.
Is it really Planeteer? It's not Planeteer, right? That's the Captain Planet thing?
Yeah, I don't know what they're called. I'm going to call them 10th
He's a
Planeteers.
moon, Josh.
What? No, those are the schools.
No, that's the instructor. I think we disagreed about this last time. I think the instructors are the moons, because he has a meeting with all the moons, and then like...
Yeah, a meeting with all the moons. That's saying like a meeting with all the affiliates.
Whatever, Josh. So
I wonder if he knows that you need a gravitational pull to have something that orbits you.
I'm not doing this right now. I'm not even engaging this discussion.
Anyway, when I saw this matchup, I was like, this is a gimme match for Gio. Like, I'm sorry.
Showcase match.
It was just like, this other guy has no chance whatsoever. Like, you gave the number 2 seed the number 16 seed.
Which is honestly what you do in bracketing.
No, you do 1 in 16. You give 2 in 15. That's how that works.
Oh, yeah, right, because bracketing.
Yeah.
My bad, Josh.
But still, like...
You're splitting hairs at that point.
I was watching the lead up, the build up to EBI, and I was like, oh, God, who is this guy going against? Like, is it going to be an even matchup, or are they going to feed him to somebody? And they fed him. Like, no knock on Pablo Alfonso's skills, but he got fed to Gio Martinez. And Gio just put on a goddamn show, and then I almost threw my phone at my computer because I thought they were just randomly talking about a ham sandwich. It bothered me, and then I realized that that's what they called that calf slicer position. So I was okay. I calmed down pretty quickly.
Look, I think 10th Planet should put out a list. Don't make me watch 47 hours of mastering the system and like whatever. Put out a list of like, hey, here's a picture. here's what we call this thing, so I can follow what you're talking about, because they got deep at certain parts of this card, like naming positions and like things like, okay, I don't know what that is. Like you just named like a random, you've put two words together that are descriptive,
You
and
just
that's
said
what you're calling
fucking
that
ham
position.
sandwich. Like I'm like,
Well, it's the ham sandwich capsule. It's
is he going literally to get a sandwich right
well,
now?
it could be a hamstring sandwich. I understand it, but it's like they called it a ham sandwich.
I was confused and angered.
So it's like your commentary is now confusing people that aren't in the system, and it's being broadcast to Fight Pass. Like Josh and I grapple a fair bit. Like I usually grapple, every single day, Josh. And if I don't know what this is, you have a problem.
I do not grapple every single day, especially this week where I worked a lot. So I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a while now, and I've never heard it called fucking ham sandwich. It's a goddamn calf slicer. Just call it a calf slicer.
Or call it a calf slicer from like some position, but like it just gets confusing when you start naming things in a weird way, and then your audience can't follow that because they don't know the system. And I get it's for the people that know the system, but goddamn.
I'm okay with it. If you're like, hit the flapjack from New York, I'm like, all right, no one except for people from 10th Planet know what you're talking about, so it's good when you're coaching. But again, it doesn't come across well
for commentary.
So if you didn't figure it out, Gio Martinez calf slicered Pablo Alfonso. Ashley Williams, holy crap, I can't even talk. Got a lot of hype because of his exciting matchups from the previous EBIs. Went against Sergio Hernandez. And, woo, that guy moves. He was cruising, just flying around. What a excellent match. I very much so enjoyed it. I was like, yeah, it's a lot of back and forth, a lot of leg entanglements. They liked that word last night too. Leg entanglements.
Which is technically what Ashigama means.
Yeah. They were like,
I'm not mad at it.
Leg entanglement. Oh, they're in another leg entanglement. Hey, look at that leg entanglement. If you
didn't want to name those, they're all just leg entanglements.
If there was a drinking game, and you took a shot every time they said leg entanglement, you would have been drunk before the other side of the bracket. You might have been drunk before the end of one side of the bracket in the first round. So, unless you're an alcoholic, and then that was a normal day of drinking. So, Ashley Williams went hard and comes around in transitions and nabs up this triangle armbar. I was like, oh, this looks sick. And he got it. And I was like, hey. As you can tell by my excitement, I had a lot of caffeine before I came here, too.
Yeah, I can tell, Josh. I can tell. And the people listening can tell as well.
Oh, good. So, moving on to the next match. Elias Anderson, who arguably had the worst haircut of the night. Terrible hair choice. I'm sorry.
I don't know. Put in a ponytail or something.
Yo, he looked like a radish from Super Mario Brothers 2.
Yes, he did. It was an interesting choice.
He looked kind of silly. I'm going to say that.
To put it nicely.
He went up against Kevin Burbrick. And this is going to sound bad, but Kevin looked super sucked down. Like he really had to work to make this weight class. And he's a rather tall gentleman.
Yeah, he's pretty tall. He was one of the taller guys on the event.
Yeah. I kept looking at him. I was like, who does he remind me of? What is it? He just looks sucked down. He looked super mousy. For some reason, more so probably because I'm a giant dork, but he just looked like a redheaded, skinny Peter Pettigrew from Harry Potter.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if that played into his performance at all, but he looked like he was either not well or cut too much weight.
He
or
looked
something.
tired.
Yeah, something
the entire match
didn't go well with either his weight cut or getting down there, or didn't look like he normally looks like. So I'm not sure if that played into this match, but
possibly. But his guard work looked great.
Yeah, looked on point.
Every time Elias was coming around, he would just invert. He had no worries about him coming through. There were a few times where he clamped him down with the rubber guard and things like that. So it just showed off his guard work, and it
was good work. Then
good guard work.
Time ran out, and they go to overtime.
And Burbrick had Elias for a while. I didn't have something that I wish that they would institute is a little timer in the bottom corner.
And I'm not sure why they don't. It's weird to me because if that's such a crucial thing, is they're trying to build suspense or like so you don't know or can't figure it out.
And it wouldn't be too hard to add those little infographics. You already have the timer at the bottom of the screen anyway, counting down the time to the regulation period.
Just count it up.
So have two little timers pop up, and one's got, one will say Anderson and one will say Burbrick or whatever, Elias and Kevin, doesn't matter. And whoever starts, as soon as that goes for escape time, the timer goes off. So it goes, and it starts running.
Have you ever seen, I think it's collegiate wrestling? They have ride time.
Yes, as it builds up.
You will build your ride time, which is literally what they call this. They're starting to call this ride time now.
I'm cool with that. You can call it riding time.
You're on the back and you're not escaping, you're getting riding time.
But let me know. Have it as a millisecond counter, a legitimate stopwatch where it just runs, and as soon as they go time, it stops, and it gives you down to the super precise moment of when they escaped. Because let's say they escaped both at 33 seconds. Well, who technically escaped faster? Well, this guy was 33.11, and this guy was 33.76.
I think this is as good a time as any. In this event, even the commentary staff touched on it. We still don't know exactly what constitutes an escape. We still don't know at what point the person has turned into them, where they say they've lost control and they've fully turned now, and they're in a new position, either in mount or whatever from the back mount. We don't know yet. The commentaries team doesn't know.
You got to be fully out. That's what I was gleaming, and that's what they were saying. But then they would backtrack over themselves and be like, "Well, I don't think that was out," and it's like,
right. The thing is, it's arbitrary. I think as EBI gets more established, at this point, you've done 15 events. You need to have a defined rule set for, okay, at this point when the shoulders are down, the shoulders are up, or have some criteria so the competitors know, and we're not arguing if was he out or was he not out at some referee discretion, because these guys are competing for money, and not a small amount of money. It matters now, your rule set. You need to know what is out, what you do when you go out of bounds. There had a bunch of problems this event that you should fix.
I think Eddie's still not 100% sure, because
which is fine,
because it was one of the ones where the Danaher guys were there, and Danaher was asking all these questions, and he would ask a question, and it's going to be a long-winded question because he's going to explain it to a T, and Eddie would go, "Oh shit, I don't know," and then they would have to use competitors to be like, what if this happens? And they'd have to play out
this
the
was
situation.
During the rules meeting. I think at the Absolute, the rules meeting. It was on Rogan's podcast, and Eddie was talking about it. And I think this is where this came up.
I thought it was the one with Gary Tonin.
Maybe it was that one then. Maybe
one of the two. But it was
a recent one. This was brought up.
And I don't think they know 100%. They need to clarify. 100%. They need to be able to release, these are the rules. So if you entered in your information and you were chosen to be on this show, you need to be able to read, these are all the things.
Which you can do, by the way. EBI has a form, we've talked about it on the show before, where if you are a regular competitor, a regular dude, you can apply to be on EBI. So you should have your rules and have them defined so that if competitors wish to come on, wish to understand, wish to game plan for the rules of the event, I don't have to watch events and try to figure out what the commentary staff is doing and then what you're doing on the mat and what I've heard from other competitors. The rules need to be defined and need to be understandable, especially now that there's a lot of money on the line and that you have people watching, and Josh and I, we follow this event. I should not be confused as a viewer of this event, was he out or not? That's a huge thing because it stops your riding time. Was he out? What do they do when they roll off the mat? It's I don't know. And now there's we don't know.
We're going off on a tangent here. Anyway, Burbrick took the back first, held on for a little bit. Elias got out. Elias takes the back. They're going, and this is where this whole scenario that we're discussing started coming up, because he was turning very quickly. He wasn't fully off of his back yet. He was on his side, and they just kept going. And another point of argument, and Elias, I'm assuming, thought he lost at first because everybody seemed confused. Elias had a Kimura grip, he could finish a Kimura possibly, Not 100% sure because it was not a good angle. And they're like, hey, I still had this. Why did you stop this? And that came up later in this too, where they were like, we're here. Why was this stopped? It needs to get... Was that during the CJJ match?
In the guillotine, I think. Later. It could have been. This happens a couple times. This happens
almost
a couple every
times.
EBI where someone has a position or someone has a submission and they turn out, and sometimes they have to clear the sub. Sometimes they don't have to clear the sub. Sometimes they almost clear the sub and they're out. We have a gray area for if you transition with a submission, at what point in the rules and at what, like, if you're in overtime or standard and time runs out or whatever, at what time, if you have a submission and your opponent is getting out, do you actually escape?
What it really boils down to is that your referees aren't 100% aware of what to do, which potentially could be unsafe. So going back to it, they just need to be 100% clarified. Like, these are the rules. This is how it works. Because if your refs don't know, then nobody knows. We're going to go on this all night if we don't get away from it. So
on to the next match. We have,
by the way, Anderson won that match in quickest escape time. We didn't go into that, but Rafael Domingos versus Sergio Perez. Domingos, man. Whew. This was a guy that was going for it.
Yeah.
Like, the whole time, he was like, suck it. Like, I don't care. I'm going to just do
Dude, which is what I want to see. Like,
this is what made this very exciting. This whole card, like, you did not see a lot of overtimes. I'm looking at results right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 matches went to overtime.
In the entire card.
In the entire card. Everything else was finished by submission. Right? Domingos he didn't want to go to overtime at all. And he just pushed the pace on Sergio Perez. And eventually, from a collar tie, he shoves the arm down and just launches a flying triangle.
Yeah, this was impressive. The way he jumps up, and you see him, he shoves the arm twice. He doesn't fully get the arm through on the flying triangle when he initially jumps, and he lands, and on like the bounce, he like shoves it additionally through, and like, God damn, he has the wherewithal to do that. When he lands, he immediately has the angle all the way over. He's looking directly in his ear, and I was like, there's no way he is getting out of this triangle.
Nope, and he didn't, and he tapped. So that was the whole bracket for the first round. Of course, now after this, we get all the weird not all of the weird commercials, some of the weird commercials. And then we start up with the quarterfinals.
If you want to hear Josh and I's thoughts on the commercials, go back and listen to the EBI 14 episode where we go off on the Datsusara commercials in length.
And that was an issue as well with, I had EBI and Fight to Win on at the same time, and I was watching one, and the Datsusara commercial distracted me from what was going on, and I thought I saw the submission, and it was a submission. Fortunately, I caught it, but it was definitely distracting. Quarterfinals, John Calistine versus Jason Hayden. Both these guys have good leg locks. You see it. Calistine wasn't having any of it. This dude was trying to pull like a Craig Jones and just get in, get out. He went down, wrapped up the legs, snatched up the heel hook, and called it a day. Grabbed it, boom, done.
This is the match that I really think showcased how good Jonathan is. You see him grab the leg entanglement, he changing leg entanglement. Jason keeps trying to pull out of the legs, and he's at a bunch of different times able to clear the knee line, but you see John get the reap all the way over. The finish on this was really, really cool. He looks like he almost fakes like he's going to heel hook one leg, gets Jason to overcommit, and he heel hooks the inside leg. It was a very, very quick transition, and it was just really beautiful, like predictive movement. You saw John predict what Jason was going to do. Jason commits to get out, and John's ready to snatch up the heel hook. It was just great.
Yeah, it shows off that system and how they have it mapped out. And down to a science where everything is just connect, submission, done. It was a great showcase of that system again. Next match, Mike Davila versus John Battle. these two have, again, competed before where Davila took it. So, grudge match, whatever you want to call it.
A rematch, Josh?
Somebody lost, somebody won. I'm going to call it a goddamn grudge match.
All right.
So they went at it again, and it was more footsie. A lot of just tangling over, and Davila was just one beat ahead of Battle, where Davila would just cover up the leg and take it and pull it across, and Battle would try to fight from something from the outside and keep going, and Davila just stayed ahead, and finally, again, from that 50 position, snagged up the heel hook, turned, cranked, called it a day.
Again, a fun match to watch. I liked both. All the matches actually in this card that finished via heel hook, which was a lot of them, were really interesting techniques on display. You saw a lot of the guys before they ended up getting the heel hook. You would see people trying to clear the knee line and aggressively trying to clear the knee line. And so, whenever you see someone in this card get finished by a heel hook, usually before in the match, you'll see a heel hook setup, and then you'll see a guy trying to aggressively rip the knee line out because he knows he's already been beaten to the heel hook. And so there's some really interesting escapes on this card as well. And this, I think, is a match that had one of those where you see John aggressively trying to beat the knee line to pull out and pull his leg free, and exactly how he does that. But eventually he gets beat with the heel hook from 50-50.
And that was something that I actually didn't bring up from earlier, where Sergio Hernandez was caught by Ashley Williams in those heel hook positions, and he was putting his arm through and like grabbing his knee. And I don't know if it just happened to be there or that's like a legitimate defense, but it was stopping the motion of the heel hook just by putting another like wedge in there to stop.
Kind of like what Keenan does with the knee bar.
Yeah, but I don't know if it works that way. It's very interesting. I'm going to have to watch that over a few times and then try it in training and figure it out.
Yeah, I didn't mention it because I looked at it and I went, I don't understand what's happening here. I'm not able to speak about it.
It was very interesting, and it was shown again. Battle did something similar, and I don't know if it was because his hand was stuck in there or he figured, hey, that might work. So I'm going to have to mess around with that and see it. Again, it's an interesting technique, and we'll look more into it and report back on our findings.
So on to the next match, we have Gio Martinez versus Ashley Williams.
A very back and forth, interesting match. There was, Gio going for stuff that he couldn't finish, Ashley going for things that he couldn't finish, Gio coming on top, Ashley coming on top. If I hear the word Ultra Kimura again, I'm going to stab my eardrums. Like,
I'm not going to lie, Josh. I actually turned the commentary off for a little bit of this match.
I think I'm a glutton for punishment when it comes to it.
I couldn't do it, man.
Because I want to turn it off, but I also want to hear like what their corners are calling. I want to hear all the... If there is a way to turn off the commentary but leave the ambient sound on,
Matt
I'd be
audio.
okay with
You want
that.
Matt audio.
Yes,
what you want.
yes. Matt audio. Because if I have to hear Ultra Kimura or somebody just like fondling somebody's testicles verbally, I don't know if I can do it anymore. Again, too much hype on one person, not the other. But
commentary was a little biased for Gio on this, to put it nicely.
That's an understatement. So this match goes into overtime. Again, this is another thing. I don't know if they worked on or did not work on conditioning or something, or worked very specifically to these rules. But Gio was having a hell of a time getting out of the back position.
Yeah, and that was, again, was this the first overtime for him or the second overtime?
This is
the first overtime we've seen him in this competition. Yeah, and he was tired. He looked really tired, which, again, you've just competed for, 15 minutes, between the first match and the second match. You may be a little tired, but
there was time in between to where you could rest. And I'm going to bring up something about that later as well. But he just looked really tired. Like,
what do we think his cut is to 45?
I don't think it's big. I don't think
he
it's
does
very
have the
big
cut, but it's not. We've seen him at 35 before. It's not a huge cut. So he's actually going up in weight typically. So it's not a huge cut for him. So I don't necessarily think it was like a weight cut issue. It looked like a conditioning thing. Like he was just he didn't have the same ability to escape and push out and maneuver through positions that we've seen from him in the past. I don't know if that's a level of competition thing or if it was something else.
I don't think a lot of these guys know how to properly cut weight. Like a lot of these people that cut weight do jiu-jitsu weight cutting. Like they don't do wrestler weight cutting. They don't do these severe like MMA weight cuts or anything like that, because there's nothing saying you can't do that. I don't think it's such a big thing to where it should affect them. I mean, from personal experience, I am very open with, I hate running. I despise it. I think it's dumb. It's boring. I don't like it. But as I started going down in weight from being a giant fat ass to not a giant fat ass, running really helped with my cardio. My training partners told me, like, I fucking hate that you have all this cardio now. Someone that I train with that's also an MMA fighter knew I had about 3 to 3.5 minutes in my gas tank when pushing him up against the wall. And after that, I just sort of petered out. And when I started running more, he was like, fuck, I don't like skinny Josh, because he can just keep pushing and pushing and pushing.
It was terrible.
And I think some of this stuff is neglected. Like people are using jiu-jitsu for jiu-jitsu conditioning, which is fine. But if you add other conditioning into it, it helps out a lot.
But when push comes to shove, honestly, a lot of these guys are really, really good and probably some of the best guys at their gym. So it's like, yeah, you may be working out of bad positions, but if you're one of the better guys at your gym, you know, there's only so much other guys can do to you unless you're like unless you're like an Atos or something where like everyone is just a murderer in the room. A lot of these guys aren't from, you know, gyms where everyone is a murderer in the room. They're one of the better guys at their gym. I wonder how hard they can really be pushed in those circumstances.
You find a way to be pushed. You look for those other things. Like as long as your gym is cool. If you're in a gym and they're not okay with you cross training. I'm not saying switch gyms, but switch
gyms.
I personally feel that's kind of sketchy. You know,
it's 2018. There's no room for tribalism anymore in this sport.
I think this whole like leave the ego at the door thing is a bunch of bullshit, because I think a lot of people in jiu-jitsu still have ego. So I think it still hurts people. It knocks away at their pride. I don't know what it is, but you know, if you're not going to do that, if you're not allowed to, or if you're just like, nah, I'm going to stay in-house, I'm going to do this, run, swim, get on an Airdyne, ride a bike, do something that increases your cardiovascular output, because you're going to need it. And it could be anything. I can't say what it was, but Gio looked tired. He did win in overtime with a rear naked choke, but he looked tired. Final match of the quarterfinals saw Rafael Domingos versus Elias Anderson. Fuckery was afoot. So they were going at it, and I don't know, his radish head also still bothered me. But at one point, I'm not going into this, just this was such a weird match to begin with. Domingos grabs like a one-arm guillotine, and Elias does like this Brazilian tap. I don't even know which.
Okay, so what happened? They went off the mat. They reset. He's in the guillotine still, and he looks like he taps. Like he taps. It's like there's nothing you'd be doing with your hand to make that motion with your hand unless you're tapping or you're attempting to like fake tap. Like that's what I saw on the replay. His hand goes on his back and goes tap, and it's only one tap. It's not multiple taps, and there's like rules on if it should be multiple taps or one tap, but he taps. Like that's what a tap looks like. We've all been doing jiu-jitsu for a couple years at this point. These guys are professionals. The refs are black belts. Like we kind of know what we're looking for when someone taps. If my hand is around your neck and I'm trying to kill you and your hand makes a motion in a tapping motion, I assume you've quit and I let go. So he faked, he Brazilian taps, he tapped, whatever you want to call it. It was a tap, man.
He pulled a Chael Sonnen. I was like, I didn't tap, bro. It's like, whatever. It was really weird. I was confused.
So Rafael Domingos beats Elias Anderson via one-arm guillotine.
Sort of.
Kind of. So on to the semifinals. We have John Callistine versus Mike. Every time I see his name. Davila. Every time I see his name, Josh, it throws me off and I pause super hard.
I'm waiting to look at the fight to win results and read off those names. Same thing with Polaris, actually, because one of the names was kind of funky.
Oh, the name with two F's in the beginning?
Yeah, that one.
Yep. We're getting ahead of ourselves here. So John Callistine defeats Mike Davila. Oh my God.
Davila. How is that
like
even
Bob
hard?
Davila?
That's Bob Vila.
Bob Davila now. By inside heel hook.
Yeah, that again, quick. Callistine, I don't think broke a sweat. I don't think he even broke a sweat the first 3 rounds. He got that inside heel hook and yanked it, and Davila made a very ugly face. Was like, "Ay-ya!"
Yeah, this had a funny set. It was a weird heel because it was like below him when he's finishing it.
When you're that small, I think anything is a weird finish from this position.
Go back and watch this finish because it is not a position that I'm used to you seeing a ton of heel hook finishes from. Like the hand position is fine, like the body position is fine, but the angle that he's at when he finishes it is pretty odd. He's at he's turned towards the mat almost as they finish, and you just don't see a lot of guys finish at that angle.
Again, I think it happens because he's short.
Look, he uses his attributes effectively, and he gets
absolutely.
it done.
I'm not knocking him for it. He used it.
So this match finishes, and then we had
the longest match of the night, just about until the finals. Gio Martinez versus Rafael Domingos. Rafael Domingos came out like it was shot out of a cannon.
Which is what you want to do. You want to take out the number 2 seed, man.
He came after him like he owed him money. Like, he was just going. And honestly, I think he blew his load in that first exchange. And he was all fucking over. I was like, holy shit, that's over. Like, upset right now. This will be the upset of the night.
Oh, yeah. Hands down.
Because he beat him. And he just was throwing everything, like trying to choke him with head and arm, was on his back. I mean, he was all over.
Yeah, at one point in this match, Rafael Domingos gets a head and arm on Gio Martinez that looks
so tight. Briefly, though.
Tight. It was short, but the commentary, and here's the thing. This is where we kind of had some issues with the commentary. The commentary was super pro Gio Martinez and why this submission wasn't going to work. TJ DeSantis at points when he has the head and arm is giving you play-by-play and is talking about what's happening, is talking about both competitors. The 10th Planet the 10th Planet commentators are only talking about why this submission will not work and why Gio is going to get out of it. They're not talking about anything that Rafael can do to adjust it or where he needs to go. They're just talking about what Gio is going to do to get out of it. And it was just it came across a little odd because you can see that you had a guy in a bad position it was obviously in a bad position, and he could get out, which he does. He pulls his head out at the end and escapes the submission. But the commentary was, you just heard how biased it was, and it bothered me because this is supposed to be a showcase for jiu-jitsu, and it's a showcase for 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, and this is their guy. But goddamn, it was biased.
Well, I just knew he wasn't going to finish it because of his head positioning. Like,
yeah, Rafael's
head was way too high. If he would have kept it on, even with Gio doing all of his little defenses, and dropped his head down just enough to where his ear was touching Gio's ear, that would have made it so much tighter, and he could have just hung out, snuck. And that was the other thing. He wanted to get that triangle position that where the hand is on the bicep and the other one's over top of the head. He wanted that so bad. He could have just locked up a nice little gable grip and just hung out there. Sorry, I'm showing Maine what I'm doing, and my face is drifting away from the microphone. He could have just hung out there and held the position and just drained energy out of Gio.
Because if you've ever been in the answer the phone position is what I'm going to call it, it does gas your arm out.
It does.
Keeping your arm above your head and it flex like that, it's hard to do.
It doesn't stop you from getting choked either. Like, people are like, oh, if you just do this. I've choked people with that. Like, it doesn't
Josh, you've
stop
choked
it.
me with that.
That's not hard.
Hey.
That's not hard, especially like when I would do them more, I was way bigger. So it's like, here's a really fat guy versus a tiny guy. I'm just going to squeeze your fucking head.
Yeah,
and that's what I would do. Now it's a little bit more technical when I do it, if I do them.
Josh, I think you finished me with that like literally like 2 weeks ago.
I don't remember. Like
things are less about us.
Things I remember from us grappling. Me purposely doing rubber guard today just to like bother you. And then me doing that weird triangle to the armbar. That was it. Oh, and chewing gum while I was doing it.
Yeah. Josh has no respect for the Mets. So this match goes to overtime.
And that's another thing. Now it's like, is Gio injured? Because Domingos was on the back with that body triangle, and he looked like he fucked up Gio's ribs. And another thing, and I don't know if anybody else caught it, maybe it's me trying to insert drama into it. During one of the periods, Domingos is on, he gets out, he's on top of Gio, and Gio's like pushing him away, and he's like, get off of me. And I don't know if it was like malicious or anything, and maybe I'm just making this shit up, but it looked like he mouthed, get off of me. Like, yo, I'm fucked up right now. You need to get off because I need to create the space, maybe breathe, maybe not have my ribs hurt like shit. And this is another thing. Good on Gio for not pulling a Herbert and being like, fuck it, I got to just give up because I'm hurt. He powered through it, and he caught that. He went to spiderweb at one point and nabbed a armbar, and Domingos went into the round, and he was obviously tired from trying to beat the shit out of Gio, and had something and just gave it up at one point, and Gio moved on to the finals.
I was going to go on to the finals, but we have to talk about combat jiu-jitsu. We had a combat jiu-jitsu championship today. This
championship
event.
match. That's right. Nick Honstein, 135 champion, versus Ben, I have a very strange mustache, Eddie. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's a sick handlebar mustache. I can't grow that shit. But he looks really weird.
Dude, it's a little weird, man. It creeps me out.
If I had a match against him, part of the stipulations of my match, like I'd be like, look, you don't even have to pay me. If he loses, he's got to shave that thing. Like, that would be like,
Josh,
here,
you got me. 15 episodes in, you got me to laugh into the mic. You got me finally.
Okay, maybe you'll give me a little bit of money, but you have to shave that mustache. It just,
Josh, you can't make 135.
If I tried hard enough, I bet you I could.
Yeah, you could. You would. You're stubborn enough, you would cut your own leg off to do it.
I wouldn't cut my own goddamn leg off, but I guarantee you I would just work my balls off to get down to that for 15 seconds, long enough to stand on that goddamn scale, and it says 135, and then get the fuck off and go. I mean, I have enough friends that are nurses or know how to do something and get a fucking IV put in. Anyway, yeah, the mustache has got to go. I think when I imagine Ben Eddie, I imagine him walking around in like a flannel shirt and some pair of pants with suspenders holding them up. And
that's where you go?
Fucking bow tie.
Dude, I go back to like 1940s.
Maybe even 1920s, like newsboy.
Yes, that's where I go. In my head, every time I see him, I go, why are you in the wrong like time machine? Like,
why are you in the wrong era of
what'd
time?
you do? Like,
yeah.
Like, what wizard did you talk to?
I like crazy facial hair. As a matter of fact, just the other day at work, I was grabbing a coffee, and I look across, and I was like, is that Ben Eddie? Because this guy looked almost exactly like him, had the same fucking mustache, and he kept moving it out of the way because it would like, just because he was doing stuff, it would curl down and get into his coffee cup. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. And I just wanted to yell, like, please shave. And maybe it's because I have mustache envy, because I cannot grow a good mustache, nor a good beard, for that matter. And I can't just grow this manly, awesome thing, but sometimes it's just got to go. Anyway, we're back into it. Nick Honstein, Ben Eddie. Match goes, Ben Eddie goes to the ground. Duh. You knew that was going to happen. What happened next just blew my fucking mind. It legitimately just, it made my brain hurt. It was the single worst strategy ever.
I mean, I wouldn't go ever. Like, we've had some...
For combat jiu-jitsu,
We've had like 8 matches, Josh. You can't have... It may be actually the worst strategy ever in combat jiu-jitsu so far. To date. Not ever, to date.
You are competing against a guy that is known for his guard and playing a high guard, playing the rubber guard, doing those things. So your plan is to come in and just try to throw a bomb and hopefully, hey, knock him unconscious. That didn't happen. Like, he tangled him up. What was good, and something that I'll touch on in just a second, was Hanstein lifted him up at one point and just he took off. Like fucking Usain Bolt in a 100-yard dash. Just went towards the edge, and they were like, whoa, 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 stop. And they started them back on their feet. I didn't know that was a rule.
Yeah, I don't think there's...
That wasn't discussed. Commentary was like, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
But that was most of the commentary, Josh.
Yeah, but I'm okay with them not having a clue because I was like, I wasn't aware that was a thing. Like, if I go to throw you off the fucking ring, we're going to get stud back up.
Why wouldn't the ring out? Right? Like, this is Street Fighter, Josh. This is how you do this. Combat Jiu-Jitsu, it's a simulation for MMA.
And that's the other thing. If it's a simulation for MMA, add slams.
Wait, can you not slam?
No.
Are you serious? You can't slam?
Did you see any?
I didn't, but I just thought...
Did you think, wait a second, I'm Nick Hanstein, I'm starting to run out. Maybe I should just take off and dive and slam him. There was no slamming. None.
I'm shocked, Josh.
Yeah. That needs to be added in. If you're simulating this, and don't get me wrong, for this match specifically, and in a couple of matches that I've seen in like Bellator, UFC, the rubber guard has shut people down from doing something. But again, in a match we just recently saw
last week,
you can get picked up in rubber guard still and repeatedly slammed.
I honestly think it's easier to pick someone up rubber guard than it is any other guard. Because they have their weight above your shoulders now, so you can lift with like.
But if you have them completely broken down, it's still really hard.
Oh, if you have them broken down, but I think if you don't have them broken down in the rubber guard, I think it makes the lift easier if you're not completely broken down, harder if you're broken down, but then it's harder if you're broken down on the guard anyway to lift.
True. Slams should be added. Eddie Bravo.
I'm amazed they weren't. I'm just learning this now.
Make it even more interesting. Add slams. Like, I'm not talking about full-on gorilla press slams, fucking power bombs. Add slams. Well, power bombs I'm okay with, especially if people are in triangles. Anyway, it starts back on the feet. It goes back down. Hanstein at certain points gets around Ben Eddie's legs and starts wailing on him. And he was using more of the bottom of his palm, but still not adequate enough to cause severe damage. You could tell Ben Eddie was like, I don't like this. I don't want to be here.
He was making the face like, this sucks.
I don't like getting hit. But then he would get back into guard. And then he was doing the Hindu.
Dude, again, give me a list.
This one I do know because somebody did it, I think, in MMA, and they did it in a jiu-jitsu match, and Eddie Bravo was like, this is what this is fucking called. It's like Hindu guillotine.
Hindu or something like that. It's like Hindu guillotine is basically what they've mixed the two words together as.
Yes. And it seems like a cool move. I'll never fucking do it. I don't have the long enough arms, and I don't have that kind of dexterity. But that's what he went with most of the time. And at one point, got him into a sort of triangle position. And if you are on the internet, please go find the GIF of Ben Eddie playing Donkey Konga on Nick Hanstein's head. Because that's what it was.
It was hilarious.
It was fucking hilarious. It's like that GIF of that fat kid swinging his arms around. And you're like, ah, ha, ha, ha. That's really funny. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. I was dying. I was like, what the fuck am I watching?
What are you doing? It's got to be like, what, probably 6 seconds of Ben Eddie, both hands just slapping the top of his forehead.
It might have been longer than that.
I don't know. I've seen a black and white version of the GIF, and I've seen a colored version of the GIF, and they're both hilarious.
So what they need to do, somebody with better photoshopping skills than myself, maybe Maine. Well, no, some of his photoshops are terrible.
Oh, yeah.
But Somebody needs to add into this gift either the lines from Donkey Kongo where it looks like you're hitting the actual beats, or from that taiko drumming game from Japan where it's
Oh my God, that game.
where it has the quick where you're supposed to hit it twice, and that's what he's fucking doing. I would lose my mind. That was hilarious. Anyway,
Didn't do anything, but was hilarious.
Absolutely nothing. Ben Eddy created no power from these. Like, if you're hitting somebody on the top of the head, put some gumption behind it. You know? Put some oomph, some pizzazz.
Or, throw an uppercut or a hook or something.
From that position, he couldn't have done that. He could have only rained down strikes on the top of his head, but he could have hit him harder. He was fucking playing patty cake on his noggin.
That's what it looked like.
Yeah. That guy was like, I've seen bread makers knead dough harder than that. You know?
So this happened.
It went to overtime. Hanstein got caught in an armbar and could not catch anything quick enough. So Ben Eddy is your new 135-pound CJJ world champion. He politely called out a whole bunch of other people. If anybody has a better strategy than Nick Hanstein, they're going to clear his legs and they're going to fucking pummel him. Because that's what you're going to do. Because if you go into his guard, that's the dumbest thing you can do. The guy's dexterity, his limb length, everything.
Hey, he's tall for 35. He's got crazy flexible hips. And it's like, okay, what's the last thing I want to do if you can punch me in the face? Get in your guard when you can do weird stuff to me in your guard.
I mean, you could just like start a leg drag. I'm okay with you trying to heel hook me or knee bar me. Because while you're there, your face is there to be pummeled. And guys, work on them palm strikes. Somebody call Boss Root and be like, yo, teach me this stuff. And hit people harder, because I'm telling you, you're not hitting them hard enough or the proper way. Because if you clip somebody in the orbital bone or by the jaw, they're taking a nap. Or hit them in the ear. You know how, like...
Oh, if you box the ears.
It throws off your equilibrium. If you hit somebody in the ear hard enough...
Not blew this week. I ruptured my tympanic membrane this week. Because it suctioned to someone's chest and they moved and I got a little tear in my eardrum this week. Dude, it happens all the time. It happens like once a year.
So you have weak-ass eardrums?
I have weak eardrums, Josh. I got the most
bitch-made
eardrums of all time.
That makes me want to hit you in the ear.
Josh, I was sucked up against his chest with my ear, and he moved too much, and my ear, tore a little bit.
I just want to hit you in the ear now.
Josh, tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Oh, yeah, good point. You shouldn't have told me that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we go into the longest fucking commercial break in the world, and we're like, why is this taking so long?
So Combat Jiu-Jitsu's ended, and now we are waiting on the final match, which is John Calistine versus Gio Martinez.
There were so many commercials. There was so much talking, so much bullshit going on.
At a certain point, we just waited, and we're like, okay, well...
Like, when is this going to continue?
We're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting, and eventually we go... How much time are they going to give him to recover? Because at this point, we've kind of figured...
We speculated that they were letting him recover because he was injured or he was just fucking exhausted.
Well, he was exhausted. It was pretty evident that he was exhausted. We're talking about Gio Martinez because he's now had 2 consecutive overtimes in the quarterfinals and in the semifinals. And John Calistine has blown through guys' legs and is now waiting for him in the finals.
And we can be wrong, but there was a lot of time in between that combat jiu-jitsu match and when the finals match started. So the finals match did start, and this again is why I'm speculating that Gio was injured. He played super defensively. Super defensively.
Which he doesn't usually do. He's usually fairly aggressive.
Yeah.
And we saw him during the event in earlier rounds be pretty aggressive.
And Calistine just went for the legs and kept going and was everywhere. And you heard Richie Martinez, Gio's brother, saying he's only got the one thing. It's like, I'm pretty sure he's got the other things. He just wants to finish everybody the same way. He wants it over. He knows it's going to be way more difficult because Gio is also notoriously hard to submit.
Oh, yeah.
So he's trying to get past the legs, trying to do anything, trying to rip off the legs, anything. And I'm not saying John's other jiu-jitsu moves are bad. I just haven't seen that much of it. But, if he could have gotten to an armbar or to the back or wherever, he probably would have gotten there. But that didn't happen. So we go into overtime. And this is where, again, you see where Gio is sort of lacking, I guess you would say. He gets put in body triangles, and it takes him forever to get out. And being stuck in a body triangle sucks.
Bad.
Everybody knows that. If you're in a body triangle, you know it sucks.
Especially if you're in a body triangle with a guy that's trying to finish you with the body triangle or with anything else he can. Like, you're on the back in a body triangle in the finals match of EBI. Like, you're going to try to crush them.
Yeah. And Maine brought this point up to me where he's very interested that this is where this is going, like, for back control. And personally, I think it's specifically in this or in any type of
overtime tournament situation
like this. If you hold on to a body triangle, it's significantly harder to get out of that than traditional hooks. It's just longer. It takes time. It takes away some of your mobility to finish per se, but it's a great way to hold on to people.
Yeah, if you're trying to get riding time. And I think it's really interesting. I've seen the past couple, at least probably a year or two, guys go to the back and they grab the body triangle. And we're not seeing about a year or 2 years ago, we'd see guys kind of finagle and try to work. And the body triangle wasn't an instantaneous transition. This year and the past couple events, they say go, and that guy has the body triangle. They don't even try to defend the body triangle because the guy there, it's implied the guy is going to get the body triangle. You very rarely don't see a guy nab a body triangle immediately whenever back is presented for an overtime situation. It's a thing that occurs now. And I think the metagame is changing or has changed at this point to give that control because it's so much harder to escape. It gives you less finishing options, but if the goal is riding time and overtime because that's a criteria for victory, you have guys just hold that body triangle and, look active and look for the finish, but it helps them get the points, it gets the time.
Yep. And, Kallenstein rode him like a $2 horse. You guys thought I was going to say something else.
I thought you were going to say something else, Josh.
I mean, he was on there, in there like swimwear, just going. And Martinez opts for the spiderweb position in the last round. Yes, in the final overtime.
So they go back and forth, and every time Martinez takes a while to get out of the triangle.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's weird because we've seen Gio escape the triangle before, and he does a pretty goddamn good job. Mm-hmm. And so this whole event was not typical form for Gio in this particular escape. Because we know, Eddie talks about it all the time, these guys work the EBI rules. They work the escapes. They work the submissions at the end. And we've seen that from Gio. So it was just interesting to see him struggle so much with it this time. So I think that's the big reason why Josh, and I'm kind of more convinced potentially Gio has some sort of injury or something else going on because this was not typical fashion for him because he knows these rules, he knows his escapes, and he just couldn't execute this time for some reason.
Nope. But he did nab an armbar, and Kallenstein just ripped his arm out at the last minute and was free. Later in the interview, it was revealed that Gio popped his arm, and the way he was carrying his arm, it looked like he popped his shoulder out of socket. That's kind of an easy fix. I wish they would have somebody got out there and just all right, we're gonna yank this bad boy back into place. But he went through his thing. He's like, he sounded like, not vocally, but it was like a Matt Serra interview. He's like, I fucking did it. And I was like, yes, you did. He's like, that shit was fucking tight. He's like, you popped my fucking arm out. I was like, God, yeah, that is a New York response right there.
Yeah, I was like, that's a New York interview at the end there.
It was great. No, he's very happy and gracious. And
you coming on late now, and you come on as a late replacement, replace your teammate at an event that you're probably a smaller guy for, an underdog. You submit everyone on your way to the finals quickly with the same thing, and then you beat the guy that everyone thinks is going to smash through because the other guy's not there.
I think it was just such the opposite of Gordon or Gary, where and it's not against them. That's their thing, and it works, and I'm fine with it. And they do something completely different from what AJ does, which I'm not okay with because it's just bad. But Gordon's like, I'm the best. Prove me wrong. And there's only a few people that have proved him wrong. So, I'm okay with that. Same thing with Gary. Gary's like, it's like, here I come. I'm coming in to fuck you up. You got to stop me somehow. Like, I'm going to come in and try to fuck you up. So the way that he was just gracious it was somewhat refreshing, where it was like,
it was definitely refreshing. I'm happy that guys
like,
come in, win, like, be happy about the win, and not try to make some beef about it. Just go, hey, happy to get the win, happy to come in and like perform and put on a show. And it was refreshing from what we've seen recently with the showmanship of stuff,
and refreshing from what we saw earlier in the day from the Polaris card from one of their competitors.
So that will do it for EBI 15, the Featherweights.
Finally.
Yeah, this was the longest we've ever talked about a single event. If you like this format where we go in depth and kind of go tangential on it, let us know. If you want us to go back to, hey, give me
shut
news.
The fuck up. Just tell me what's going on and give me a quick recap and then get the fuck out. We'll go to that too.
So let us know. Again, we do the show for reasons.
For reasons, a.k.a. for you guys.
So we'll get to Polaris here in 1 second, but we said we were going to talk about it. One of the issues that we've had with EBI in this event and with previous events is the commentary.
Okay, let's cover that first, because it drove me up the fucking wall the entire card. The commentary team needs to go. Like, DeSantis has, each EBI, he's gotten better and better and better and better and better. But the blatant, like, one-sided, this is who we're for, it's ridiculous. Like, you're playing something. There were multiple times where, and we'll talk about it, but there were multiple times where Gio Martinez was getting fucked up. Like, fucked up. And they were like, yeah, he's fine. All he's got to do is this. And I'm like, no, he's getting fucked up right now.
He was in a Darce at one point.
He was in a head and arm choke, not a Darce.
I meant to say, head and arm. Josh, they're all the same to me, man. Those arm chokes that I don't do.
There's choking things.
Josh, I do guillotines, and anything that involves the arm, my little stubby arms don't reach, so I don't do them.
I got stubby arms. I love head and arm chokes.
Josh, you were a heavyweight. You have to.
Okay, whatever. But, and what's his name? I always forget his name because he just makes me angry.
Jonathan Ross?
Yes.
Scott Ross?
Scott Ross. Scott Ross. Holy shit. Out the window. Like, Maine and I try to be super good and not disparaging, and I'm sorry, he is the worst, and he might be a great guy outside of it, but again, terrible ref, terrible commentator. Like, whatever weed they have in California, they're giving him like 10 times the dose. He's just straight up ridiculous. No idea what he's talking about. Like, this is the position to do this. I'm like, great, you know the rubber guard system. And then he talks about other stuff, and holy shit, it's just mind-blowing how bad it is. That's all.
So on to Polaris 6 in the O2 Arena in London in the UK. England?
Are we sure it's in England?
Josh, I don't know where it was.
Is it in Scotland? Is it in Puerto Rico? Is it in London, Puerto Rico? How about London, Maryland?
How about London, Maine?
London, California? London, Maine.
Yeah. It's a place.
I'm aware of that. So is Portland, Maine, or Portland, Oregon. Hey, look, places with the same name. How about that? How about Hollywood, Maryland?
That's where I was born. You know that, right?
You were born in Hollywood?
Yeah.
I'll be. They should call you Hollywood.
Right next to California, Maryland. So on to Polaris 6. This event was fantastic and fast. Yeah, it was fast.
It almost ended before it started. It was great. They were on time. There was one decision.
I think so. Yep.
There was one decision.
On the main card.
On the main card.
On the preliminaries are on Facebook. Go back and watch those. We're not going to run through those on our show.
It's worth watching.
Definitely worth watching.
But we're going to cover the main card.
Because we're already like an hour plus in to this show.
And apparently we're worried about time. We're trying to go Joe Rogan on this bitch. 3 hours and 45 minutes on one podcast.
Jesus. So on to the Polaris 6 results.
The full results. Amelia Tukenin defeated Liani Munslow by decision.
We had Jay Butler defeat Sean McDowell via toe hold.
McDonough.
Oh, my bad there. Sorry, Sean.
McDonough by toe hold. Santori Lilius versus Bradley Hill. Hill won by decision.
We had Tommy Langacker versus Charlie McDonald. Langacker wins by choke from the back.
I wonder if he pulled a Herbert tap. No, that didn't happen.
No.
Tiago Valente versus Oliver Lavelle. Lavelle wins by choke.
We had Ross Nichols versus Tommy Buchanan, and Nichols
takes it by heel hook. And then, of course, moving on to the main card, Fiona Davies defeated Chelsea Leah by armbar. Marco Kanya defeated Ash Grimshaw. I'm telling you, that's the picture that made me think he was a dork. By decision. Marcin Held defeated Chris Fishgold by triangle armbar. Gazari Matuda defeated Serena Gabrielli by armbar. Benson Henderson murked AJ Agazarm out of the fighting area and won a unanimous decision. And Craig Jones blew up Jake Shields' heel. He won by heel hook in exactly 1 minute and 4 seconds. Anyway, to start us off, the women's under 55. That bothered me. I don't know why. Just say it's a 55-kilo match, and then you say, hey, it's Chelsea Leah versus Fionn Davies. And then you'll go, Chelsea sounds like a woman's name. Maybe this is a woman's match. I don't know. It's a weird gripe for me, I guess. Anyway, Chelsea Leah, who is now living in the UK.
Yeah, recently moved to the UK.
She married Tom Barlow. That was made a point on commentary. Great commentary, by the way.
Really professional commentary, and that it was nice. Before we get into Polaris 6, I want to talk about the production on Polaris 6. It's great. It being up immediately after the event airs on Fight Pass was great. Whenever there's a submission attempt, they highlight it on the broadcast. It's on the search bar, so I can click on each submission attempt in each match. There's a start match, there's an end match. I can watch and replay the event, and I can go through every single match in the time it takes for the matches to happen. It's beautiful.
What Maine is saying is, hey, Flo, step up your game.
A little bit. Just a little bit, man.
We'll get into that in a little bit, too.
But, yeah, the commentary was amazing for this.
My one problem with from a viewer standpoint was they would pull back to this weird far out angle that was over the crowd.
Yes.
That was not good for viewing jiu-jitsu.
But they would do a crowd reaction shot, but from the back of the crowd.
The back of their heads.
Yeah.
And you would see the mat in the distance.
And there was one point in the AJ match versus Benson Henderson, which we're going to talk about here in a bit, where they did that, and I was like, why would you choose this camera angle right now?
It doesn't show us anything. Weird. It's almost as weird as that overhead angle that they do.
See, I actually like the overhead angle.
I don't.
Okay. You've always had a problem with it, but I've always liked it for certain positions. It shows you something really interesting.
They show people sometimes, though, in guard. I'm like, well, why? Like, oh, great, someone's in guard. Like, the only time I want to see that position if somebody's getting rear naked choked and they're looking up, and then it's like, quick, switch to that so I can see their reaction, and that camera better be able to zoom in because I want to see that look on their face.
It's also the overhead camera is always like the entire mat space, and it has no zoom on it. So it was a little weird, but again, the production was amazing. The commentary was amazing. Like, the way it was up immediately after the broadcast was amazing.
You could just rewind and go back and be like, oh, I missed that little transition.
And I did.
And then hit live, and it would jump right back in.
Yeah.
So, Chelsea Leah, Fionn Davies. Fionn was obviously bigger than Chelsea. She just looked...
That was apparent.
Yeah, and she just looked bigger. And Leah immediately, goes and looks to pull guard and starts shooting for the omoplata. And that was pretty much all of Chelsea's offense. Davies was knee cutting like it was her job.
Which technically it was, if you're on a pro event.
Yes, yeah. But she was just going through a knee cutting just like nobody's business. She goes for mount and ends up in a heel hook very briefly. She shakes it off and just starts coming in with that pressure. Knee on chest. Leah, it was talked about where she won Worlds by submitting everyone with knee bars. She transitions over for a knee bar and doesn't, and it's not there. And we end up in this weird double heel hook toe hold position. And Davies comes back on top. And from here, Davies just really took over. She's knee cutting and is going for mount. And every time she gets to mount, props to Chelsea for nabbing that foot and getting back into a safe space. But again, pressure, pass.
And that was sort of the way this entire match went was just pressure, pass, transition, get stuck back, pressure, pass, and a transition.
And no joke, at certain points, Davies looked like, whatever, when she was knee cutting. It was like no big deal to her. She's just like, knee cut. This is where I'm going to be. And she eventually lands in mount securely and starts with a head and arm. She then transitions really, really quick to S mount and nabs up an armbar and gets the finish. So they're doing a mini tournament, by the way. They talked about this a lot.
It's a four-person
tournament
basically,
where the winner of each of the under 55 kilo matches will meet each other in July, and they will fight for a title.
Which is cool.
Cool beans. In between this match and the next match, there was a cute little inverted gear commercial. It made me giggle a little bit. So good job, Inverted Gear. They're now in Europe. So, hey, Inverted Gear Shop EU, I think it was.
I don't know, Josh. Why are you looking at me like I don't know that?
Maybe you know. I don't know.
No, Josh, I don't know.
The commercial pops up a bunch of times. If you're in Europe, it's easier to order their gear now.
Woo.
Going on to the next match, Ashley Grimshaw, or is how they announced him several times, is Ash Grimshaw, versus Marco Kanya, or Kanya. They kept saying his last name differently, and it was like they would say Kanya, and then they would say Kana. And I was like, I don't know what to say, and I just spelled it out, and I was like, this is what we're going to go with.
What are you going to go with, Josh?
And Kana.
Kana. Okay, let's go with Kana.
Kahna, and it's probably Kanya. It has that
the
little
Enya,
accent.
Josh?
Yes.
The tilde?
That's Enya right there.
It is.
The way Grimshaw came across on the pre-fight interview, he seemed like a real, kind of a dork. Some of the stuff he was saying was like, what? And what he was saying did not happen. He was like, when they say round one fight, I'm going to go in. And he didn't. Kanya pulled, and he shot his left arm through Grimshaw's right leg, and from there just used it to stand up and sweep. And Grimshaw was like, oh no. And he grabbed a guillotine and swept back. Kanya then returns. From here, it was all Kanya.
To put it nicely.
Yeah. I mean, just knee slicing, passing, stepping over, backstepping, whatever he felt like doing, and just would go across. And to Grimshaw's credit, he didn't get caught in a super bad position, but he just went through. He would use a cradle. He'd push through the 3/4 mount. He would.
He just seemed to have an answer for everything that was being shown, and repeatedly through every stage of the match, every transition, he just had an answer and had something he wanted to be doing, and it was evident that he seemed to have just a really defined game from each position and items he wanted to do.
And I mean, Grimshaw was doing all he could to not get crushed. He came up at one point into butterfly, and Marco comes forward and just pushes him, and he just goes limp. He just fell back and accepted that was happening.
Which is kind of weird to me. It's kind of like you wouldn't fight through that position. You kind of just accept it.
Yeah. So that was pretty much the entire match until the last minute and a half. And then Grimshaw goes, oh, now's a good time to just let it fly. And he starts trying to go for the legs and everything, and he gets hit with a leg drag. Kanya at the very end starts looking for the feet. He doesn't get it. and time ends. And
But he's sort of already been active enough at this point.
Yes, and he takes the decision unanimously. It it was a excellent match to watch. Excellent pressure, passing, lots of knee cutting. It was a good one to watch.
On to the next match, we have Marcin Held versus Chris Fishgold.
That's an excellent last name.
Oh, it's awesome.
Fishgold.
I keep thinking Goldfish. I want to keep calling him Chris Goldfish.
That's okay. But Fishgold starts off looking for like leaping. I'm not going to say flying guillotines doesn't make any sense.
I call it a jumping guillotine is what I call it.
Leaping,
it's the
jumping
thing
guillotine.
Marcelo does, basically. You're in the collar tie and you jump up and try to like loop choke their head.
Their face.
Their face and neck and head with your arms. Because you see with a gi, so like a jumping loop choke, but it's a jumping guillotine. That's kind of what I call it.
I would think a flying guillotine would more be you launching yourself into like a guard pull.
Yeah, if I jump a guillotine, like I jump a guillotine, but this is like what Jake Shield was trying to do to Kit Dale last week.
Yes.
What Marcelo does. Yeah, it's a jumping guillotine attempt.
Yeah. So Held decides I don't want to be on my feet too much longer, so he goes to guard and elects for half. He immediately starts attacking the legs,
which is what he does.
Yeah, goes after a heel hook. Fishgold does the same exact thing, and we're back out and goes into half again. He, from an angle, just starts fishing for a triangle armbar. It's like, I'm going to do this now. And then grabs it, locks it. Fishgold, to his credit, stands up and tries to just like pull it off, and it's getting extended. It didn't look very happy, and Held finally gets the armbar.
When he pulls him off the armbar, this is one thing that I want for most professional events. Like, I want slams. I want guys to be able to like slam out of stuff because there's something about a professional event at high stakes where I think that you need to be able to be hooking a leg, or you need to be able to be holding the guy in a position that if he can lift you up, like Samba rules, basically, like you can get slammed in that position. You either have to eat the slam or you have to fight and work through keeping him postured down to keep the submission.
Thanks, Seth Daniels. Now you've leached into our lives and have brought slams to every competition.
Every professional event, Josh. I'm doing U.S. grappling. I don't want to be slammed on my face. But fight to win, give me that sweet, sweet slam.
Yeah.
So that was this match. Again,
I'm okay with that.
Good match, fun match. They talked about the both competitors are MMA fighters. Fishgold's a guillotine guy. Held is a leg lock guy.
Dude.
So on to the next match,
which is another no-gi match: Gazari Matuda versus Serena Gabrielli.
And this is the other half of the four-woman bracket for the under 55 championship that we competed for in July.
Yes, Gabrielli looked like she just woke up. She just looked kind of out of it, and then they were bouncing around a lot. They were just bouncing back and forth, bouncing. And then Gabrielli launches herself at Gazari. Just launched herself right to guard and immediately transitions over into the knee bar. Matuda had this look on her face like, what am I doing here? Like, I should just be chilling, drinking a smoothie or something. She just looked like it was another day.
Yeah, she looked super calm. That was one thing that stood out to me. Aside from the good technique in this match, was Matuda just looked calm the entire time with every transition. Even if I didn't think she was on the winning end of each transition necessarily, she just looked calm and not worried about anything.
Yeah, no fucks were given. That's what was happening. She eventually falls back for a toe hold that gains her nothing, and Matuda's still in the guard and working around, stands up, grabs like the most basic of straight foot locks, falls back, and gets it. Impressive. I'm very much so looking forward to her versus Fionn Davies. It'll be a very interesting match. A lot of pressure versus a lot of technique, and then technique versus technique, and then technique versus pressure. See what I did there?
I see what you did there, Josh.
So Gazari takes that one. Gazari.
Gazari Matuda.
Gazari. They kept saying Gazari, so I'm going to go with Gazari. I always say her name one of the two ways. Sorry. We're not good with them. Next match. Oh, this match was awesome. For me, personally.
So if you don't know, if you haven't listened to this show in the past, Josh is not a particular fan of Mr. Agazarm.
Not because his jiu-jitsu is bad. It's more so the shit he talks and then doesn't back it up. And then he pulls like a third-rate Chael Sonnen and like, I didn't really lose. I watched an interview after this match and he was like, I had all the better positions. I won. I was like, oh, God, you fucking dingleberry. So anytime that he competes and he loses, it makes me happy just because he's a Krabby Patty.
I love watching him compete because I think he's got really good pressure jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, but I mean, I was talking to somebody today and we were talking about his wrestling and he's like, oh, he wrestled for this place. I haven't seen anything where it was like, was he on the main roster or did he just wrestle?
He definitely has. He does his wrestling stuff. I just think that he's one of the guys that honestly, from a wrestling perspective, he plays points really, really well. Like that dude can play a points game and can get up 2 points and stay up 2 points for 8 minutes.
Yeah, like, but this isn't a points thing.
This is not. But I'm saying like, you've seen him in points. Like that's where I think his wrestling shines through is that he can get a 2-point lead on someone and keep that with no additional points scored for the rest of the match and get the win. Like AJ Agazarm is outstanding in a point setting. When it comes to a submission only setting or something where he's going to be, a decision is going to occur, it doesn't do as well.
And Benson, I think technically, I don't know what his wrestling was when it came to college. Wasn't Ohio State.
No, it was not.
So, but guess what? Benson said, fuck you.
Pretty much.
So Benson some of the stuff Benson does gets under my skin.
Yeah.
And some of the other things that he does just tickles me pink.
So Benson Henderson is like one of the nicest guys ever.
Seems like it.
And he got upset at AJ Agazarm during weigh-ins because apparently AJ was talking some shit during weigh-ins and like it made Benson upset. And this match starts out and Benson, they go back and forth and Benson shoots a double leg, a hard double leg, and runs AJ not off the mat but off the stage. And they fall probably 2.5 feet?
Probably a solid 3 to 4 feet.
Yeah, off. And it looked like they landed
on the ref.
They looked like they landed on the steps, but I don't think
they missed the steps.
They missed it, but they barely missed the steps.
The thing about that was, if you notice Benson right before he does that, he is taking in the scenery. He knew.
Oh yeah, he knew
that they were by the edge of the mat.
Look, and Benson Henderson,
he blew through that double leg and ran him off the mat.
Because you see, there's a point where he takes a step, he goes through, and you see him running, and he takes a stutter step. Like he chooses to go, I can either keep going, or I can stop because I know I'm not going to get the takedown on the mat. And he goes, nah, we're going off the mat, and he blasts him.
It was great
off the mat, and if you watch Benson Henderson's career, MMA fighter, if you watch him, he's a gamer. He understands how to work the system, how to work what's allowed, how to play within the rule set, but get by with things. And so I think this is a big, this is an instance of that. So he double legs him off the stage. They restart. Honestly, both the competitors look fine, which I wouldn't want the match to end with an injury off getting off the stage. This is where I like ACBJJ because the mats are close to the ground and there is a little, like a square or like a triangle, like slope off the mat so that people don't fall off the mats.
I was just hoping AJ came up with like a bloody face.
All right, Josh. Psycho.
Anyway, honestly, unless you're really good friends with AJ, I don't see how he could have potentially won the match. I will read my notes from what I took. It says AJ versus Benson. Benson fucked him up. That is all. You got thrown off the stage. Like, I could tell you about the match, but Benson just came heavy with the pressure, ran him into, another part of the stage that was like curtained off. He got put into a position where Benson just sat in a split and was like, I don't care.
Yeah, Benson actually did a split, like a full split.
He's done that in MMA before, too.
He has, to stop a double leg.
Yeah.
Which threw the commentary, it threw me off because you looked at it. I'm just not used to guys doing that. I was like, oh yeah, right, he does that, doesn't he? He does this full split to get out of a shot. And I'm like, yeah, that's weird.
I occasionally do that, especially from like that leg on top of the shoulder, and then you're trying to stretch out the other leg. I'm like, I can sort of hang out here. I'm okay. Yeah. Benson at one point had a guillotine, but had no guard, but it was obviously tight enough because AJ kept moving around like, oh, fuck.
Like hard defense.
Yeah. And the only thing that I recall, and I can watch this 50 million more times and be like, oh, AJ had a toe hold, and it was a whack-ass toe hold. You want to know how whack it was? Benson looked at him and just, like, hung out and was like, yo, this ain't bad.
And, like, smiled at the audience.
I was waiting for that toothpick to come out of his mouth and be like...
That's what I thought he was doing, because he was like playing with the hair that's like next to his mouth, and I thought he was going to pull a toothpick out, as he typically fights with a toothpick in his mouth, and start playing with it. And I did a double take. He didn't do it, but that's what I thought he was doing at the time. I thought he was playing with a toothpick in his mouth.
I was full-on expecting him to go Razor Ramon, early WWF, pull the toothpick out, flick it in his face. That didn't happen. Benson deservedly took the unanimous decision. AJ went through his dumb fucking spiel. You know, I'm the king and these are my people. Eat shit. You're not good at it. You suck. I hate you. Benson, very gracious, and was like, yo, if you're going to talk the talk, you better be able to walk the walk. Essentially, he was like, if he wants to, I'm going to fuck him up. That's okay. Awesome match on Benson's part. AJ, you know, kick rocks. On to the main event.
And it was a good one, to say the least.
No, I wouldn't say it was good. You want to know why I won't say it's good? Because
why?
Jake Shields said it wasn't good. Jake Shields admittedly said it wasn't good. And this is why. So Jones comes to the ring with a shirt on, takes it off.
80cc style, baby.
You know, we're going. He sits, immediately goes to his Z-guard. If you want to know how he does this stuff, BJJ Scout did study on his Z-guard. It's exactly what he did. He tilted, went up onto his head, inverted, turned around, came up, entangled the leg, fought Jake's legs for a little bit while hunting for the heel hook, looked to split him, fighting, grabbed it.
Yeah.
1 minute and 4 seconds.
If you're curious about this, Zombie Proof BJJ also just put out like a little snippet on, hey, this is exactly what the finishing sequence was. They break it down in kind of more of a teaching way. It's probably like a 3-minute video, and it was good.
Crushed it. What pissed me off about this match is that AJ ran out and gave Craig the belt like as a fuck you to Jake Shields, I guess.
They got their little slapping match at SUG.
and at Polaris.
Oh, yeah, right.
Either way, fuck that dude. That ruined it. Jake was very gracious in his loss, though. I will say that. He was like, you know, it was a good match. Props to him for getting that. He was like, I don't deserve a rematch. Right there. You're a good fucking dude. You were like, I lost really quickly. There was nothing to say. It was close. And, you know, we should do it again. You got beat. You got beat quickly. And he was like, I got beat quickly. I don't deserve a rematch. I need to fight a few guys, get a few more wins, and then maybe we can do it again. What a fucking boss.
Yeah, what a stand-up. That's a great way to handle
dude.
A loss like that and to talk about it because it's real. It comes to a real point like, hey, like this happened. Like I need to go work on some things if I'm going to go compete against you again because we just saw how that turned out and you ran your A game and I didn't have a good answer for it. So I need to go work on some things, get some more, you know, competitions against some other guys, and then maybe we lose again.
And then we go into Craig's post-fight where he's like, you know, it was fun. I had a good time. That was awesome. Him talking about Quintet and being Team Polaris. So that's another thing to look forward to. He was like, I got to learn how to do something else, though, because I'm not allowed to heel hook. So he was poking fun at himself. Good on him. Excellent card. went by very quickly. It will not take a lot of time out of your day to watch this entire thing. Because other than the Grimshaw and Kanya match, everybody was done in like, and the AJ match.
Which is worth a watch, which is totally worth spending your time to watch that match.
Yes.
The whole card was over very quickly. Go back, rewatch it. It was a fun event. It was beautifully produced. The commentary was good. It was knowledgeable. A+ event. Really outstanding. So on to Fight to Win Pro 63 in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
Yeah. I guess it was in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I couldn't really tell you because the stream was fucking awful. OMG.
Yeah.
It cut out so many times. So many times. I tried to load it on my phone. I tried to go back to the computer. It just kept on saying at one point, literally the screen said, technical difficulties. This is when the card is starting 0000000.
Yeah, Josh gave me a screenshot at the end of the purple belts or the beginning of the brown belts.
Middle of the brown belts.
That just had a screenshot, and you could see his face in the screen as well, of this event has not started yet, and it had all zeros. Like the countdown had started, but the stream hadn't started. I was at a restaurant watching it on my phone, having the exact same issues that Josh had. I came home and had the same stream issues that Josh was having. I don't live near Josh. So This was an issue that it was a stream issue either at the venue or at Flow or something, but we honestly missed a lot of this card.
A good majority of this card because it would not.
And then it's Sunday night now, so this card was yesterday. The match videos are not up at this point of the recording, so we can't talk about a lot of this card. We would love to. We love Fight to Win. Josh and I are huge, proponents of the organization. We love it. We love to cover it. We love to watch it. We couldn't do it this week. We have the black belt results for you, and
some of the kids' matches came through. There was a sweet flying triangle. My former training partner Paul Ambrose was on the card. It finally kicked in and started working with about 3.5 minutes left. So I was like, I can't judge this as a full match. I don't know what's going on. And then, the judges all ruled it for him. Awesome for him. Good job for you. You're now 3-0. But I couldn't watch it all. It was pissing me off. It bummed me out, but it really, really pissed me off. Fortunately, and this was not a very long card. It was not a very big card. There was only 4 black belt matches. It paid out almost $16,000. I don't know if it was just because of where it was. I didn't get I wasn't looking at the crowd at all almost. So I don't know if it was packed or it was dead. I have no idea. But you figure you're in Oklahoma, Lovato country, as I like to call it.
Yep.
And you have Justin Rader on the card that you're going to get enough people. So I don't know what that is. That I'm aware of, that's the lowest payout that I've seen.
For me, I think definitely recently, that's the lowest I've seen in a while. But they've been in NorCal for a kick now, and all those events are selling. So we're seeing much higher than usual payouts because of those huge California events. And I think this
was Maryland at almost like 30,000.
Maryland was 36,813. I don't know why I know that off the top of my head.
Wow. 36,000 in Maryland, in Frederick, Maryland.
But we had a ton of black belts on that card, too. I think we had like 17 black belts on that card.
So maybe it was just because it was
because
they pay the black belts up more. Top. Yes, that's true.
So potentially if you have 10 less black belt matches, your commissions are lower. Again, it was what I did see. It was a good card. And, we love Fight to Win Pro. That's why we cover it every single weekend.
So we're into it. We're going to cover it, all the black belt matches. There were 4 of them. Starting off the black belt matches, Todd Ryan versus Mitch Hall. The stand-up was kind of goofy at first. And it goes down, and Mitch is on the bottom. And Ryan, and a lot of times you'll hear me switching between first and last names. It's something that I need to work on. Todd.
I do the same thing, Josh, so I can't really talk any shit about that.
Todd Ryan looks to pass and goes to the back. Hall escapes and gets out, and then immediately starts looking for the knee slice. Todd again is looking for that knee shield, and Mitch transitions for the knee bar. Todd back on top, attacking the back again. This match was going back and forth fairly quickly, and it wasn't a long one. He sort of grabs this weird, like, sort of crucifix and transitions a little bit better to the back, moves a little bit more, makes those tiny little adjustments, and finishes with a collar choke. So it went by fairly quickly. I was like, all right, there's only X amount of black belt fights, but that got me hype. So the next match,
Grayson versus
McCarroll, yeah, that ruined it. My first comment was, these guys are big.
They were very, very large black belts, Josh. These guys were heavyweights, to say the least.
Oh, yeah, they were heavyweights. They were two big dudes, and they looked like they were both a little bit older, too, but that has nothing to do with it. Whatever, black belts. This was boring. They were literally pushing each other back and forth most of the match. Finally, it ended up...
I think we didn't go to the ground. We had a foot sweep at about 3:45 left in the match.
That was a little bit later. So Grayson was actually on top. Like, he got it down. Again, transparency. I looked away because I was fully focused now. Like, I'm looking out of the corner of my eye at this match because all they had been doing is pushing each other back and forth.
EBI is on.
So I'm watching EBI at the same time, and I'm like, this is far more interesting. And I look over, and all of a sudden, Grayson is on top and in side control. And I'm like, sweet, maybe we'll get a finish. And then they're back up. I'm like, oh, there's a lot of pushing. McCarroll looks for a foot sweep. It was a forgettable match. It was a lot of pushing back and forth. They went out there. They did their thing. There was a snap down that was attempted near the end, but that was it. I guess because of the amount of time that Grayson was in top side control, he took the match. That was it.
On to the next match, we had Omar French versus
Rolly Delgado. If you're not aware of who that is, he was on The Ultimate Fighter. They questioned who he got his black belt from. That was a big subject of debate in the jiu-jitsu community quite a few years back. This is also Hillary Williams' teacher, one of them. So Rolly was on the ball. He was on the move, pulls really quick and nabs a sweep from half guard. And then he just starts motoring in. He took a big back step and went for a knee bar. He missed it, but comes back into French's half guard and looking for the knee slice. Knee slice was happening a lot all day with all of our grappling that was going on. French fighting for the De La Hiva. There was more footsie where he got knocked down. Rolly comes back up, smashes him back down. More footsie, and he just started going ham on the foot. And you can find his illegal footlock DVD on Digitsu.
I almost buy it like literally every probably 6 months because I love that it's called illegal footlocks.
That's good.
If anyone doesn't know me, I love illegal techniques.
I don't even know if you would really call them illegal. It's probably just illegal in specific situations.
Look, Josh, there was a seminar with what's his name, Miguel Torres, just called illegal submissions. It was like in Chicago, and I debated going to it because I just love learning about things you can't do.
Yeah. So he nabbed up just a plain Jane straight footlock. While this was going on, the Eddie Bravo Cesaro commercial was on, and it distracted me, and I wasn't 100% sure if that was a footlock, and they were like, yeah, it was a straight footlock. Okay.
Which is odd, honestly, to see two straight footlocks on the same day, two different cards at a black belt level. Uncommon, so it's coming back, Josh. They're bringing it back.
Yeah. So that brings us to the main event of this card.
Matt Vernon versus Justin Rader.
What do you expect when you see Justin Rader?
Some wrestling, Josh?
Correct. That's what happened. They're just going, Matt looked for a foot sweep and tried to get it. Worked fairly hard. Raider grabs up a leg, is on top. He got caught in butterfly briefly and got caught up in it, but still ended up on top. It was just typical Justin Raider style jiu-jitsu, just being very headstrong, pushing forward, looking to knee cut, just push.
It looks like what you'd see when you say, like, okay, here's an established wrestler that we taught jiu-jitsu, and he got a black belt. Like, this is what I think of when I think of characteristic wrestler jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. So eventually Raider starts to grab the neck. He misses it the first time. Matt Vernon pulls, and Raider went right onto the neck and then grabbed it and just cranked on it. And if you watch the video, you see that Matt is like flailing his legs because he's like, "Get me the fuck out of here! I can't tap with my hands."
Yeah, it was funny. It was one of those, if you watched Joseph Benavidez versus Tim Elliott, where he's kind of like flailing as he's trying to tap. That's exactly what this looked like. The Joa constrictor, as they called it. You know, where his hands are trapped, but he's trying to tap, and you can't tell if he's trying to escape or trying to tap, and then you see them keep doing it. It's like, oh, he's obviously trying to tap with his feet. Like, we're done.
And I'm not 100% sure if this was the decaparator guillotine that he does.
Josh, I just want every year, everyone that has names for their submissions, submit the name, submit 3 pictures of what it is, and send it to us so I can learn what your terminology is for these things. And I'll post it on a big poster in the studio so that I can look at it and go, this is the ham sandwich, Josh, or this is the decaparator, or this is the Joa constrictor, or this is the,
reverse Della worm guard.
First Stellar Worm Guard. This is the 10 Planet 420 Blaze-a-thon. Like, whatever it be.
Oh, that's too good.
So that was this
That
card.
was all of the black belts. There's 4 matches. That was it.
So we're going to do a different format with this episode. We're going to give you the results at the end.
Yay. So Fight to Win Pro 63 in Oklahoma City paid out $15,630 in commissions and salaries, starting at the kids and teens. And they had quite a few kids and teens matches.
Most I've ever seen on a Fight to Win.
Ooh. Again, these are directly from the Facebook posts. So if somebody's got a weird name, or if they're named Leonard and I'm about to call them Leonard, prepare for that. Let's start with, Jesus. Nestor Eduardo Jimenez Segovia. I'm sorry, Nestor, I screwed up your name. He defeated Tyler Perkins by flying triangle, which got submission of the night. That was a sweet flying triangle. Grayson Dekanich defeated Jacob DeJarnet. DiGiorno Pizza by triangle. DeJarnet. I think that's right. Yeah, we'll go with that. Caitlin Yamasta defeats Olivia Terrell by flying armbar. Hey, kids. Awesome that you're doing all of these flying submissions. Jeff Thompson defeated Stanley Zagrebski?
That's correct, Josh.
Yes!
Via key lock. That was fight of the night for the kiddos.
Hunter Knox defeated CJ Longan by decision. And Tyler Perkins defeated Tristan Russell. Russell. Too much spit in my mouth. By Kimura.
Then we had on to the
purple belts.
Nope, Josh, you're doing it.
Oh, I pointed. I gave him the nonverbal cue to start reading, and he didn't want to do it.
I saw the name, and I went, nope, not doing it, Josh.
You couldn't say Wade Smittle?
Smittle versus Jeff French wins split decision over French. Wade McGrew.
Wade is a popular name in Oklahoma, apparently.
Defeats Cameron Adar versus Adair versus inside heel hook. Versus inside heel hook? With an inside heel hook. Nate Lorginetto.
Where's the G?
Right there.
Laurentino defeats Brian McVeigh by decision. Sean Blay defeats Andrew Walden by decision. Diego Alfonso. Oh, I should have got you to read this one.
Pichulegide.
Pichulegide. I don't know. I'm calling you Diego Alfonso. Defeats J.R. Cochran by Corin. God, It gets worse and
Coffrin.
worse. Coffrin by split decision. Fight of the night. Austin Morris defeats Clayton Garrison by split decision.
Zach Coffey defeats Tyler
Murrah.
via triangle armbar, and that was submission of the night for belts.
Aaron Rodriguez defeats Dylan Smith by Ezekiel choke.
Glenn Pierce defeats Marshall Troy via decision. Connor Dilbert defeats Marcos Alexander by decision.
Dilbert.
Yep. Brendan Smith defeats Dominic Brooks by Darce.
It was Dibbler.
Connor Dibbler defeats Marcos Alexander by decision. My bad there, Connor.
Dilbert just got me. Randy Ray defeats Jake Webb by triangle. And this one's all you.
Tyler Mace defeats Dylan Wynn by decision.
Yay. That's the one name that he can say, which surprises the shit out of me.
Wynn is spelled Nguyen, and I think it's the Vietnamese spelling of the name. And Josh thinks I'm going to mess it up every time, and I get it because I'm a champion.
No, you're not.
On to the brown belts. We have Fernando Salas defeats Michael Smith via choke. We have Spencer Salda Smith defeats Vinny Saenz via decision.
Is that salada? Like a salad?
Spencer Salada. It's a name, but yeah, technically that means salad, yeah.
Sweet.
Matthew Lowe defeats Carl Pullman via heel hook. That was submission of the nights for the brown belts. We have Michael South defeats Wes Allen with a split decision. We have Troy Edmund Russell defeating
Tavares Collins
via decision. We have Mateus Gabriel defeating James Partridge via the split decision.
Ooh, spelling error. I wish this guy's name was Jams. I really wish that guy's real name was Jams and not James.
Where are you reading, Josh?
Look, Mateus Gabriel defeats Jams Partridge.
Oh, look at that.
By split decision. I wish that guy's name was actually Jams.
Josh, your buddy, Paul Ambridge.
Sorry, Paul. I work with an idiot. Paul Ambrose defeats Tavares Collins by decision.
Kevin Williams defeats Hunter Colvin via split decision, and that was fight of the night for the brown belts. On to the black belt results. Todd Ryan defeats Mitch Hall via choke, fight of the night. David Grayson defeats Davon McCarroll via decision.
Rolly Delgado defeats Omar French by ankle lock. And Justin Rader defeats Matt Vernon by guillotine. Submission of the night. By the way, Tavares Collins pulls double duty versus Troy Russell and my man Paul Ambrose. So good on him.
So that'll do it for recaps and breakdowns of this last week. We're going to get into the preview section of our show. Pretty much only Fight to Win Pro 64 happening next week in Denver, Colorado. That event is headlined by Rafael Lovato and Tim Spriggs. That is a black belt heavyweight no-gi title. And we saw Tim Spriggs win that title at the Fight to Win Pro Maryland event. Co-main event is a black belt super heavyweight no-gi title, Elliot Marshall versus Joao Assis. Next, we have a female purple belt no-gi title, Mo Black versus Amy Montenegro. Then we have a female brown belt bantamweight no-gi title, Vanessa Wexler versus Nikki Sullivan. Next, we have a 215-pound no-gi match, Nick Brown versus Don Westman. Then we have a 200-pound black belt gi match, Jeff Ake versus Lance Yager. Then we have a 175-pound black belt gi match, Philip Lentz versus William Grandhauser. Then we have a 165-pound black belt no-gi match, Connor Hune versus Tim Galauzi. Then we have a 165-pound black belt gi match, Brandon Russell versus Sergio Castillo. After that, we move into the brown belts. We have Troy Everett versus Evan Barnett, a 190-pound brown belt no-gi match. Next, we have Bruce Bugby versus Ryan Casey, a 185-pound brown belt no-gi match. Then we have Chris Miserak versus Joe Miles, a 185-pound brown belt gi match. Next, we have Jeremy Hastings, a 180-pound brown belt gi match versus Dylan Miller. Then we have a 175-pound brown belt gi match, Eric Coe versus Vance Barkdale. I've trained with Eric before, a really good grappler. We've seen him on Fight to Win Pro, I think 3 times at this point. We have a 165-pound brown belt gi match, Aaron Porter versus Justin Tank. You have a 155-pound brown belt no-gi match, Jared Mercedano versus Jeremy Wina. Then we have a 145-pound brown belt gi match, Casey Pratt versus Matt Serra. Not the same Matt Serra, I assume. Then we have a 135-pound brown belt gi match, Stricka Long O'Neill versus Jenny LaFaro. We have a 205-pound purple belt gi match, Teddy George versus Michael Costa. We have a 205-pound purple belt gi match, Jared Heyman versus Justin Bickner. We have a 200-pound purple belt gi match, Corey Brennan versus Daniel Pacheres. We have a 180-pound purple belt gi match, David Wang versus Andy Benol. Then we have a 175-pound purple belt no gi match, Scott Carroll versus Louis Gault. We have a 170-pound purple belt gi match, Jake Hartner versus Sean Spear. We have a 145-pound purple belt gi match, Derek Albon versus Daniel Dykman. We have a 135-pound purple belt no gi match, Eric Sains versus Trevor Paulhaus. We have a 150-pound para no gi match, Rustin Hughes versus Ronald Mann. I'm really excited about this match. I'm excited the Fight to Win Pro is putting on more para matches for everyone to see. Then starting the card off, we have a 25-pound blue belt gi match, Selena Garcia versus Emma Sojo. So that will do it for the preview section of this show. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Flood Solutions. They are a remediation service located in Baltimore, Maryland. They also do work in adjacent areas as well. They were over at my house this last week, basically whipping out my entire basement because we had a flood a while ago that pretty much destroyed the entire basement. They were in and out in about 2 days, did fantastic work, amazing service. They also do smoke, mold, fire remediation. They are available 24/7. If you have smoke, mold, fire damage, something in your house that's gone wrong environmentally, give these guys a call. They do outstanding work. I cannot recommend their service enough. Rob Lewis is the guy to call with Flood Solutions if you're in the Baltimore area. So that will do it for this marathon episode of the Grappling Rewind podcast. Just so you all know, it's about midnight right now. We started recording this episode a little later than usual, and this is our longest episode by far, by about 40 minutes.
And Gazari Matuda definitely won by leg lock and not by armbar, as you just heard.
Yeah. So, again,
this is the Grappling Rewind podcast. I'm Josh.
And I'm Maine.
Go to sleep. As always, you can email us at thegrapplingrewind@gmail.com. You can check us out on Stitcher, iTunes, YouTube, and pretty much anywhere you can find
Facebook
podcasts. We're on Facebook, Grappling Rewind.
Instagram,
Grappling Rewind.
Twitter,
Grappling Rewind.
Reach out to us on social media. If you got something you want us to cover, you want to clarify, we are here.
You want to tell us we're idiots. Hey, let us know.
You want us to pronounce your name correctly?
Let us know. Subscribe on the YouTube page. Leave us a review.
Helps us out a lot.
It helps us out. And, it eventually will help you out. We like to give back. We're doing this as something that isn't done. So help us help you. Again, as always, I'm Josh.
I'm Maine.
And this is the Grappling Rewind podcast.
We'll see you on the mats.